Hi, today I'm going to show you how to use AI to generate custom grant proposals for nonprofits. I've been doing a lot of reading about AI recently, and one idea I've seen several times really made an impression on me because it states very simply what I believe to be true, and that's this: AI won't replace you, but the person using AI will. In other words, AI can't do everything a person can do, but it's such a powerful tool. It will give its users a huge competitive advantage. And even if you think there's just a chance this might be true, the best defense against this disruptive technology is to understand it, anticipate its possible applications in your own domain, and to harness it to be more successful. The goal of this new channel is to help you do just that. My mission is to highlight real-world, high-value ways you can utilize the large language models available today without technical AI expertise and with little to no expense. I'm going to show you actual examples that you can recreate yourself using your own content. If that's interesting to you, please hit the subscribe button and let me know in the comments below which domains you would like me to explore in future episodes. And if you enjoy what you see today, please hit the like button. So now, my first example of AI transforming the way work is done is using Claude 2 to automatically generate custom grant proposals for nonprofits. First, I want to tell you a little about nonprofit fundraising and why grant proposals are so important. There are 1.3 million nonprofits in the United States today. And the two main types of nonprofits are public charities and foundations. The largest categories of public charities are education, healthcare, and social services. Public charities deliver services, and these charities are sometimes self-sustaining because they can charge for those services. But they also receive funding through donations and grants. Social service organizations in particular are rarely self-sustaining and rely heavily on donations and grants. The second type of nonprofit is a foundation, and they're often created by wealthy individuals, families, or companies, and they focus on providing funding to charities that share their goals and values. And one of the main mechanisms for providing that funding is grants. So foundations will invite charities to apply for grants by publishing their application requirements or by accepting a common application that's shared with other foundations in their area. Filling out those applications is called grant writing, and there are over 10,000 professional grant writers in the United States. The bulk of grant writing, though, is done by charity workers and their volunteers. I first learned about grant writing in 2014 when I volunteered at my local food bank. And as soon as they learned about my business background, they asked me to do grant writing for them. They gave me several foundation applications. They pointed me at a file cabinet filled with prior grant proposals. And my job was to find the appropriate answers in those old proposals and copy and paste them into new ones. At that time, I was leading a small software company that specialized in automating complex tasks done by knowledge workers. And I knew from that experience that this kind of important but highly repetitive task was a good candidate for automation. So that's what I decided to attempt, to automate the grant writing process. And in our spare time, we were able to build a fully functional prototype that could generate custom grant proposals. In the past, we had, as a company, been successful in automating tasks that were, on the surface, totally different from one another. We automated the design and quotation of complex product systems like Wi-Fi systems in hospitals to connect medical equipment. But we also automated the generation and scheduling of very complex projects like thousands of tasks required to launch a new tire line. And we were able to do that because we saw the same pattern underlying each of these activities. In each case, we were able to create a solution by taking content the organization already had, like product catalogs or HR data, and mapping it into a solution structure in order to meet a given set of goals and constraints, which we called the context. So how does this overall approach fit the generation of grant proposals? Well, in our 2014 grant proposal generator, the content was that file cabinet full of answers from prior proposals. And the solution structure came from the foundation applications themselves. I needed to organize the answers in the order that the foundation wanted to see them. The context for any particular proposal, the specific goals and constraints, were pretty simple. You had to say which foundation are you targeting, the amount of money requested, and whether the type of grant was for general support for the charity or for a specific program the charity implemented. So all that was necessary to successfully automate this task was to find a common theme, a shared structure among the foundation applications. If every application was unique, I couldn't automate it. But luckily there was this underlying pattern because foundations have similar goals and concerns. Their requirements boil down to descriptions of the charity and its programs and to some highly repeatable sets of issues such as planning and accountability, measurement and continuous improvement. They used a shared vocabulary like populations served and needs addressed or problems solved. They might ask a different subset of questions or ask them in a different order, but basically they all want to know the same things. It was really exceptionally rare to find a question that was only asked by one foundation. So I was able to capture this pattern in a spreadsheet that mapped a list of about 60 questions to each foundation's application. That spreadsheet was the solution structure. To add a new foundation to the database, all I needed to do was to add a new column to the spreadsheet. So then, next, I had to take that comprehensive list of 60 questions and I organized it into a document that really any good organization would recognize, a strategic plan. So instead of combing through a filing cabinet of old proposals, here was one document that once completed by the charity could be kept evergreen as the organization changed and provided all the necessary content for the proposal generator. The 3 context questions that had to be answered each time you generated a new proposal: which foundation, how much money, general support or specific program. That's all it took to generate a custom tailored grant proposal for any foundation. Unfortunately, at that time, I ran into a lot of resistance from charities who didn't see the value of writing the strategic plan, or who wanted me to write it for them, which I couldn't do. So frankly, I was really disappointed. And I marked this off as a technical success, but an implementation failure on my part. And I moved on. So that was 9 years ago. And then a month or so ago, I met Claude. So Claude 2 is an AI chatbot by Anthropic, a startup founded by some former members of OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT. I've been working with Claude to analyze and summarize legal cases, and it occurred to me that Claude was probably smart enough to replace what we had been doing with the spreadsheet and the software we wrote in 2014. I thought I might have to do some pre-training or create some special prompt guides, but I decided to just see how far I could get with out-of-the-box Claude. So I pulled out my old strategic plan template, and I filled it out myself for a new charity I called the NPO Network, a nonprofit whose mission is to automate the grant writing process. I skipped the financials for the test since that's pretty straightforward. I made no attempt to update the template despite 9 years having passed. And I eliminated the foundation spreadsheet completely to see if Claude could provide that structure itself based on the published requirements. I downloaded the current Common Grant applications for 5 different states. I put them in order of complexity so I could start with the easiest and work my way up to the more complicated. My only instructions to Claude were to respond to each Common Grant application using the content from the strategic plan. Here are my 5 big takeaways from this experiment. And just a note, everything I'm going to show you here was Claude's first response. In every case, I could have asked it to elaborate or expand on any particular section. Takeaway number 1. Claude wrote custom proposals for each of the 5 states. Each perfectly matched the format requested, and each took less than a minute to generate. First, let's take a quick look at the user interface for Claude. The first thing I did was to put in the plan, and I just uploaded that as a PDF. Then I asked Claude to do a summary of it. I only had to upload it once. Then I uploaded a PDF of one of the common applications and asked Claude, use this request for information by Colorado to create a structured response using the MPO network plan as content. Then, in under a minute, Claude gives me its first draft response. So now let's take a quick look at how well it matches what it's asked to do. On the left, you can see the Missouri form that they use, and on the right, you see Claude's response. So you have Section A, organization information, items 1 and 2, Section B, diversity, equity, and inclusion, items 3 and 4, and so on. The structure of Claude's response exactly matches the request, and the information in that response really matches what was asked for. You can see item 1 asks for the organization's history, and it says, MPO Network was founded in 2023 to address inefficient grant writing, and that the founders have expertise in AI and have built an initial prototype. The Western Pennsylvania Common App was my most complicated example, and I just put it all in there, including the request for a cover letter and executive summary and things that actually weren't in my plan. Once again, Claude's response really matches the request, and even though there are subpoints here under the cover letter and the executive summary, Claude covers all those points, but it does it in a narrative form. It's not calling out the structure in this case, but it's still there. We're going to talk more about this example a little bit later. Number 2. For one proposal where there were branching instructions based on general support versus program support, a context I didn't give it, Claude chose one path and completed it and appropriately skipped over the other. In other words, it can navigate a pretty complex structure. So this is actually page 2 of that Western Pennsylvania application, and it says, if the purpose of the grant is to support a project or program or for operating funds, follow the path of A, and if it's for a capital campaign, follow the path of B. And you can see on the right, Claude rightly chose the first option, and he says the purpose of the grant here, problem and need, goal, program design, sustainability, exactly the 4 points requested. Then it skips over path B and moves on to evaluation. Number 3. Whereas my old solution could only pull answers verbatim and put them in the right order, Claude's responses were often a synthesis of several points from the strategic plan. The Wisconsin application was the simplest and shortest, but you can see they really want narratives, so they say, organization information and background, provide a brief summary of missions, goals, history, programs, major accomplishments, success stories. These are all different pieces of my plan, and it wants an answer that incorporates them all. Claude's initial draft is also short and sweet. It says, MPO Network was founded in 2023 to eliminate inefficient grant writing through AI automation. It gives our mission, says the founders have expertise, developed initial prototype, will benefit 1.3 million U.S. nonprofits by allowing them to spend less time writing repetitive proposals. And it does a similar thing here in the project and program description. So this is an amalgamation of many parts of my plan. So now let's go back to that Western Pennsylvania executive summary, because I really want to read this so you can hear what the writing is like. NPO Network seeks $500,000 over 1 year to develop an AI grant proposal generator to automate the inefficient grant writing process for nonprofits. This will allow nonprofits to spend more time on strategic planning and service delivery. Our solution uses large language model AI to match grantmaker requirements to a nonprofit's strategic plan content. It then generates a custom proposal meeting the grantmaker's needs. We have already built a simple prototype that proves this concept. The requested funding will support refining our AI model and creating a sophisticated plugin integrated with models like Claude. In 12 months, we will deliver a fully functional generator that can transform nonprofit funding allocation. This AI automation will provide immense value to over 1.3 million U.S. nonprofits and the populations they serve. It also advances innovation and applying AI to knowledge work. We are committed to documenting our progress and results publicly. So not only is that really well written, I want to call out the line that says it also advances innovation in applying AI to knowledge work. That isn't in my plan anywhere. But you know, it should have been, because it's true. Number 4. When information was missing in the plan, Claude either made logical extensions of the content or put in a placeholder for more information to be inserted later. I saw no hallucinations, which is what people call it when the AI just makes stuff up.
Here's a set of items that I didn't have in my plan. So on measurement, Claude says we will document development milestones like requirement matching accuracy, and the ultimate test is generating proposals that meet grantmaker needs. We will evaluate via nonprofit beta tester feedback and by submitting generated proposals to grant makers. Success criteria include accuracy of grant requirements matched, nonprofit satisfaction, and proposal acceptance rate. That's all great stuff, and I didn't write it. Also, there was a request about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which was not an issue 9 years ago. At least it wasn't in my list of questions. And it says, as a new organization, we've not yet implemented formal DEI initiatives. Our goal is to serve all types of nonprofits, regardless of constituency. And our current staff reflects the backgrounds of our founders, because we are the staff. With funding, we'll prioritize building a diverse staff, board, and community of users. Look at item 17, the last one. We aim to be self-sustaining by licensing our software to foundations and charities. That's not actually in the plan either. So all of these are examples that really make me think Claude could be a really good partner in helping you write the plan too. But Claude seems to know where to draw the line here, because when attachments were requested that we didn't have, like leadership bios and the budget, it just kind of says we're going to add them, and also explains why we don't actually have audited financials yet, which was requested. And then on some board questions, it just says board terms and financial contributions still to be determined.
Number 5. In the most complex application I gave it, a cover letter was requested, and Claude wrote one using a more conversational and personal tone than was used for the proposal itself. So it can do tone shifting without being directed to do it.
We've already read through the executive summary on the right. It's very well written. It's very professional. Here's the cover letter that was written to go with it. I am writing to request $500,000 over 1 year for generating operating support for NPO Network, a new nonprofit organization seeking to transform nonprofit efficiency through AI. By the way, the reason it's asking for the full $500,000 is because I did not give it a context of saying I want $10,000 or $20,000, what the real number would be. But anyway, you see other phrases that are like allowing nonprofits to focus or revolutionizing nonprofit funding allocation. These are all consistent with the executive summary, but a little bit different, a little more emotional. And then the closing is there. Our contact information is in the attached cover sheet and strategic plan. All I would have to do is sign this.
The bottom line is this. Claude was able to do all the mapping I was doing with my foundation spreadsheet and much, much more. It could synthesize and extend the strategic plan in ways I couldn't even imagine in 2014. It also happens to be a really good writer. I was really amazed. When I thanked Claude at the end of our 2-hour session together, this is what it said.
You're very welcome. I'm glad I could take the key information from the MPO Network strategic plan and format it into a grant application response per the instructions and example you provided. It was a great exercise in summarizing and reorganizing content from one document to fit the needs of another. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to demonstrate this application of my natural language capabilities. The underline is mine.
As I now come to expect, Claude summarized things clearly and concisely. This is exactly what I was asking it to do, to summarize and reorganize content from one document to meet the needs of another. And there are many places in society where this skill can add real value and save people a lot of time and effort. Now, I was able to succeed in this test because I was in control of the strategic plan. It took me about 3 hours to write. I kept the answers pretty short because it was just a test. And the quality of Claude's responses are limited by the quality of the plan itself. I have a lot of experience writing strategic plans, so it was an easy exercise for me, but it's not for many people running public charities. I mean, they're busy trying to provide services and help people. I've shown today how Claude can save hundreds of hours of writing or tens of thousands of dollars to hire grant writers. But Claude can only help charities in this way if they take the time to write a thoughtful, complete, and worthy plan. So this is where the next challenge and opportunity lies. Great organizations know that planning's not just an exercise, it's a process you invest in to be successful. Efficient and effective organizations don't just happen, they're built by good people doing good work and guided by good plans. Remember where we started? AI won't replace you, but the person using AI will. A charity using the approach I just described can invest a small portion of the time they save by using Claude and invest that into writing a really compelling plan. If they do that, they can generate custom proposals, 10, 20 of them in a matter of hours. Larger quantity, better quality, lower cost. And they'll get a higher percentage of the grant money available. As for the 10,000 grant writers who may be replaced by AI, I think they are perfectly positioned to act as coaches and facilitators for those strategic planning sessions charities need to have. A lot of what I read about AI is fearful. And we should definitely try to anticipate any negative unintended consequences. But predominantly, I believe AI will continue on the path of past automation technologies by automating the repetitive and tedious tasks and freeing people up to do what only people can do, imagine and create a new and better world. For those of you who stuck with me to the very end, thank you. I appreciate it. Once again, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments any areas you think can be helped by AI, and I will add them to my list to be investigated.